want to welcome everyone to another episode of Behind the Shades. I have my guest here, Paul. And Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Well, first off, thank you so much for allowing me to come on your podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the platform. I am a mindset coach and I help people rewrite their story and take control of their lives, making sure that they take back their pen and write the story they want to write, not what other people want that to be, but what you actually want it to be, because that is the whole basis of my life. So often in my life, people wanted to take the pen from me and write what they thought my life story should be, but I refused to give up the pen. And that's what I want to do for my clients, is make sure they have the pen and they write the story of their lives that they want to write.
Beautiful. You know what, everyone? I can't wait for this video to come up because the energy from this gentleman right here is beautiful. I love the energy. Tell us, Paul, what is a mindset coach for those who don't know?
Well, for me, what a mindset coach is allowing people the opportunity to see the greatness in their lives. You know, so often we're bogged down by limited belief, like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I think, why not? Why not go after the things we want to go after? I do a lot of interviewing different people, and I've interviewed people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And the theme that I get from them is not what they did do, is what they didn't do. They regret. They feel like, oh man, I had an opportunity to do this and I didn't do it. I had an opportunity to do that and I didn't do it. And I wish I would have done it. And what I want people to do is live in the present moment. The past is the past. It is gone. It's no more. And the future is not guaranteed. So go after what you want to go after, because there's not going to be a sign that's going to tell you start now. It will never happen. You got to make it happen.
And you're 100% right, because I always say to people, regret is probably one of the biggest reasons we don't do many things, and it destroys so many people's dreams. And to hear you speak about how you want to remove the regret from these people and make sure that they don't live in the past. So I guess my question, Paul, to you is, how do you move someone from that type of mindset into the mindset that you're discussing, where it's what happened to you yesterday is yesterday. Let's build towards the future and go from there?
It's the power of gratitude. So I have an exercise that I have my clients do, and I do on a daily basis, and it truly, truly helps. When you wake up in the morning, before you start whatever your morning routine is, take a few minutes to think about something that's going well in your life right now, or something that you're grateful for. It could be your family, it could be your job, it could be your sense of humor. And if you had a crummy day before, it could be you're alive and you have an opportunity to rectify whatever happened the day before. And what that will do for you is it will start to open up your mind to positive things that are going to happen in your day. It could be something as simple as getting something on your phone saying free coffee. Up, the day keeps getting better and better and better, because you can go the opposite way, right? You could be driving to work and you get a flat tire and go, just my luck. This would happen to me. Bad things do happen to me. And I would say to that individual that says that is, yeah, bad things do happen to you because you're looking out for those bad things. How often when you buy a car and you start driving that car around the road, all of a sudden you see that car all over the place. Your mind is looking for it. It's the same thing with a positive and negative mindset.
Is that how you got through what you went through? Because I know I know that you mentioned to me there's a cerebral palsy and things of that nature, right? Like, how much of your personal experience from then till now to the future is a part of what you do?
It shaped my life. If you'd like, I could go into it a little bit.
Of course, Paul, please feel free, my friend.
Okay, sounds good. So if your viewers don't know what cerebral palsy is, it basically happens at birth. It's lack of oxygen to the brain. And as a result of this lack of oxygen to the brain at labor, it can leave one side of the body paralyzed, and it can affect your speech. And this is permanent. This does not go away. This is forever. So when I was an infant, I wasn't moving the right side of my body very much. And my mom was very concerned. So she took me to doctors get some testing done to see what the problem was, why I wasn't moving the right side of my body very much. And after numerous tests, they came back that I had cerebral palsy. And the first doctor said that they thought it was so severe that I would never be able to walk, that I would be stuck in a wheelchair. And it'd be good that I get used to being in a wheelchair because that was going to be my life going forward. Well, thank goodness for a wonderful mom. She didn't go with that diagnosis. She got other opinions, found a physician that was willing to help. And with this physician's help, I was able to walk at age 3, which obviously was a huge, huge feat because the other doctors thought I wouldn't be walking, and obviously I'm walking. Don't really remember that, but obviously that was great. But I do remember being put into soccer around when I was 5 or 6 years old, and at the time I could probably run about 25 to 50 yards. That's about it. So basically, I'm on a soccer field. I'm basically standing there where the other kids are actually playing soccer around me. And I remember saying to my mom, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm just standing here. I don't want to play soccer anymore. I'm making a fool out of myself. And my mom telling me, that's fine. If you don't want to play soccer anymore, that's okay. But we need to honor our commitments. You need to finish out that soccer season. And after that soccer season, if you don't want to play soccer anymore, that's fine. That's the way it will go. And that's what happened. I finished out the soccer season. I'm 40 years old and I've never played soccer again in my life. But I got a break, a huge break when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I got surgery on my right foot, and I didn't know how much of a game changer it was going to be, but it tightened up the tendon in my right foot and gave me a little bit more spring in my step and kind of took away the pain I was feeling when I was running. And I didn't test it out yet, but I remember my first day of PE because I went to a different school at the time. And I remember the teacher we're doing the stretches and the teacher saying, okay, run a lap. And I'm like, oh crap, here we go again. I'm going to run 25 to 50 yards. I'm going to stop. These other kids are going to see me and they're just going to start teasing me. But because of the surgery, it was different. I was able to go past that point where I normally have to stop. And I remember saying to myself, come on, Paul, you got this, bud. Keep going, bud. Keep going. And I finished the lap with the other kids. On the outside, I kept it nice and cool. But on the inside, I was like, yes, 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 yes. The first time in my life, in my young life, where I just fit in, I didn't stand out. And because of the surgery, things did get easier, but I wouldn't consider them easy. I switched schools again in middle school or junior high, whatever you call it now. I was like, 12 or 13 years old. And that's a tough age, regardless, if you had a disability or not. Coming into a new school, being that age, everybody already is in their cliques. They already have, they've been in school together for years. So it's hard to penetrate. So just being a new kid alone, that's a tough age to get into a new school. But I was a new kid with a disability because I walk with a little bit of a limp and I hold my right arm a little bit differently. So it was even tougher for me. And I remember getting into that school and being bullied and teased constantly, all the time, bullied and teased. And on top of this, my mom raised me Catholic, so she wanted me to go to a Catholic high school. So I had to take an assessment test to see where I was at academically. Well, I must have bombed the thing because when I met with the principal and my mom, the principal says to us, well, we're going to put Paul at the lowest level possible and don't expect much from him. He doesn't seem like he's college material. After one test, the principal tells us this. So I'm devastated. I'm bullying and teased in school. I'm crying in my room, crying myself to sleep, going, why me? Why do I have to be different? Why can't I just fit in with the other kids? Man, I don't know what came over me, but around midway through 8th grade, I was just tired of feeling angry and sad all the time because those were my go-to emotions because of the environment I was in. But I knew deep down those weren't really my go-to emotions. It was just armor that was put up because I just was not in a good headspace at the time. And then I thought to myself, what could I do to distract me from these feelings of sadness? I thought, what if I set a goal for myself and I just concentrate on the goal and not worry about the other noise? So I thought, okay, what goal should I set for myself? And at the time I loved baseball. So I set a goal for myself to make my varsity baseball team. So I said, okay, let's go. I played fall ball, winter ball, spring ball. If I wasn't doing that, I was throwing a tennis ball against the wall. I was doing this constantly over and over and over again. And the great thing about this, and I know this now, I didn't know this, when I was in the journey path, I was sending out a different energy to these kids. I had my shoulders back, my head up. I had more confidence. They could see the confidence shift. So because I was putting on this different energy out, they were putting a different energy back towards me. In other words, instead of bullying and teasing me, they started rooting for me. So my high school career was much different than my junior high career, all because of the energy shift that I decided to change. And it was all because of going after this one goal of making the varsity baseball team, which I'm happy to say that I was able to make that team as a junior and as a senior. And it was a great accomplishment. I graduate high school and I start to really think about what that principal said to me years earlier about not being college material. And because through high school, I just mailed it in. I just did enough to say eligible to play high school, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, what's the point? Why waste my time? I'm not college material. Just do enough to get by and don't waste your time. So that was my mindset at the time. But now I thought about that baseball goal I set. I had cerebral palsy. Making a varsity baseball team at the time I made that goal, I thought that's near impossible to do. And I was able to do it. So I thought, why not set another goal for myself? Why not set a goal that I am college material? So I enrolled into a junior college because that was the only place that would accept me at the time. I got myself a math tutor, a regular tutor, went to the math lab. I did everything necessary to increase my grade point average. And I was able to increase my grade point average from barely a 2.0 all the way to 3.5, where I was able to graduate, where I was able to transfer rather to a 4-year university where I was able to graduate. And I so wanted to go back to that principal and say, see, you were wrong. I was college material. But, I think to myself now, or at the time, I go, you know what, I probably should thank her, because I might not have been able to hit the books as hard as I did if I didn't have her message playing in my head over and over again that I wasn't college material, and wanting to prove her wrong that I was college material. So in the end, maybe that was the carrot I needed to carry me through college. And now I'm 22, 23 years old, around that age, and I have no life experience. I have no idea what the heck I want to do with my life. And I had a family friend who was a CEO of a small bank, and he said to me, "Why don't you become a mortgage loan officer? I'll hire you." I'm like, I got nothing going on. Let's try. I'll hire. Yeah, I'll do it. Let's go. So I get in there, and I'm not received well. Nobody's talking to me. I'm sitting alone at lunch. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I was put back. I felt like I was back in junior high. And I quickly realized what the issue was. They knew I knew the CEO of the company. So they knew it was because of my name and not because of the talents that I had. So their plan was they were going to just chew me up and spit me out because I didn't belong there. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to prove myself. So I thought back to when I made that baseball goal, what attributes could I transfer over to this one? And I go, well, I had to put my head down hard, have a positive attitude, and just adapt to the situation. So that's what I did. I worked extremely hard. I had a positive attitude. I didn't complain about the workload. If anybody needs something, I got it done right away. And from afar, because they did not want to talk to me, I was observing what the top loan officers did on a regular basis. And I remember my first day where I thought I was ready to go out and get loans. My family friend CEO stops me and goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm ready. I think I'm ready to go out and get loans." And he has a concerned look on his face. No, man. You're not ready, dude. We got to get you some more training. Let's get you ready. I'm like, no. I got this. Let me go. So he's like, all right. So I go out and I've fallen on my face over and over again. I mean, these clients are beating me up. I was not ready. So, but I went out there and several months of just trial and error, failing, and slowly but surely, probably about 6 or 7 months into it, I started to grasp the value I could add to the clients. And once I started doing that, I started to bring in loans, more loans. And then 2 years later, I became a top producer. And a lot of the people that didn't want to talk to me in the beginning now were coming to me for advice on how I was able to turn things around so quickly. And I really enjoyed the mortgage industry for many years. And then 2008, 2009 hit, and the economy just tanked. I mean, I would get a job with the bank and the bank would go belly up and I'd have to get another job. And then, so I was really starting to lose the luster of the industry. And I remember one of the last places I was at, they brought in this motivational speaker to talk to our sales teams to kind of motivate us to bring in the sales. And the guy blew me away. The guy was tremendous. So after the presentation, I went up to him to tell him how great of a job he did. And he was so gracious. He allowed me to pick his brain a little bit. And he told me he started as a life coach. And I'm like, life coach, what in the heck is that? And he explained that to me. I'm like, you know what, maybe that's what I want to do. So on my off time from being in the mortgage industry, I was getting my coaching certificate, and I was starting to tell people, hey, I want to go after this, so I want to do this. And the people in the mortgage industry were just kind of humoring me. Okay, life coach, go out and get loans, bud, just whatever. And then things started to get serious. I got my website up, I got my licensing, all this ready to go, and I'm just going to do it as a side gig for a while. And the legal department got wind that I was going to do a side business of coaching, and they're like, this might be a conflict of interest. So we're going to have to investigate this a little bit. So they came back with a 5-page report on what I could and couldn't do with the coaching business. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to make any traction doing this. So I thought, I'm going to have to make some hard decisions. And I really wanted to be a coach. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to really change my spending habits. I got to do all this good stuff. So I paid off all my debts, which took me about a year to do. Did some other things. And then finally I quit the mortgage industry, and they're like, the people were shocked. Like, what in the heck are you doing? Life coach, this is nonsense. You just made President's Club. You're a mortgage loan officer. You're a damn good one. What are you doing? I'm like, I want to try this. I want to do this. And they're like, you're going to fall on your face. I've never heard of this before. So I went out and I did it. And for a while I was falling on my face. And I thought, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I need to go back to the mortgage industry. And I really thought about it, and I go, how do I expect these clients that I'm trying to go after? How do I expect them to be vulnerable with me if I'm not vulnerable with them? See, the story I told you about having cerebral palsy, I wanted to bury that story. I didn't want to talk about that story, because all through growing up, all I wanted to do was fit in. I didn't want any special treatment. I just wanted to be treated like any other kid. So anytime cerebral palsy was brought up or anything that would go to that manner, I'd almost be in tears talking about it. So I didn't want to talk about it. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to ever get any tractions in this business if I'm not vulnerable with my clientele. So I started opening up about having cerebral palsy, and it was almost magical, because people would come up to me and go, you know what, I don't have cerebral palsy, but I have X, Y, and Z. And I really think that you'd be able to help me because you went through this. I'd like to have a conversation with you. And slowly but surely, I started getting more and more clients that wanted to work with me, all because of me sharing my story. And that brings me here today.
And I think that's beautifully said, because you're in a situation where you're going from being different, but you're always looking to fit in, as you mentioned, right, from high school to the different jobs that you have. And one thing I would love to point out and highlight for everyone listening is that you're always able to adapt to your surroundings, which shows how determined you were to be the best version of yourself. For example, when in high school, you had some difficulty with the teasing and the bullying. And then once you made the varsity team and your energy shift, you became more confident. You started to believe in yourself. You started to perform in ways that maybe you didn't think you can perform. And I look at those situations and I love tying it back to the childhood, because your mother, in a lot of ways, was very similar. She had a child that was going through this, and she was able to encourage, to nurture, to grow that child to the man that I'm interviewing today. Then you went to the bank job through your friend, and you had something to prove. You did well. Yes, you may have had some failures, but failing and falling flat on your face, I say this time and time again, it is one of the best ways to learn, because when you're out there in the forest, in the jungle, and all you have, Paul, and for those listening, all you have is yourself. All you have is me, my determination, my ambition, and my resourcefulness to get to the point, to get successful, to be successful. And here you are, you want to be a life coach. You went at it through the experience, through all these things that was motivating you. And as you mentioned, you had this person come in and they blew you away, and you knew this was what you wanted to do. It was like your calling. Did it feel like this is me? Was that the moment in your life where you were like, this is why I survived what I survived in my childhood, because now I could try to bring people up the same way so many other people in my life early on did for me.
Oh, no question about it. I really think that it's always been a theme in my life. And growing up, I've always loved, those underdog stories like Rudy, Stand to Deliver, Remember the Titans, you name any inspirational story. I probably seen it or read it because I loved it. I've always wanted Pursuit of Happiness, another one that I really love. But but yeah, I've always been that way, and in talking with people, just on the street or maybe even in an Uber car or whatever, when they say they have these ambitions, these high ambitions, I always light up when they say to me that, oh, I want to be an actor, I want to be a CEO of a company, I want to do this, I want to do that and because a lot of people that say that, or a lot of people that they say that to probably say, forget it, you can't do it. You can't do it because these goals are so grandiose. But they still have that grit to say, no, I'm going to do it. And I admire that. I've always did. And I always wanted to help those people when things got tough, when they were in the weeds, because we all have these weak moments. And I want to be that boost of inspiration to go, no, you can't. You're just having a weak moment. We need to switch that mind thinking right now because you can do it. And yeah, so to answer your question, yes.
And how does it feel now to be a part of all these people's success in life? How does that feel for you?
It feels tremendous, and I live vicariously through my clients because there's a lot of amazing people. I remember one of my clients, he was had this big presentation he had to do, and it was the next day. And I remember me not sleeping because I was just thinking about going, what, I'm so excited for him, this and that. And I texted him that morning, good luck, blah, 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 blah. I go, you better hit me up right after you get off stage, because I want to know how great you did on that thing. I want to know how bad you nailed that thing. And so I'm, I really get into it. I really get into, their lives and wanting them to just to stretch themselves as much as they can or they want to.
Do you think, well, actually, let me rephrase that. If it was possible for you to speak to the next generation of people that have a similar situation to yourself, what would you want to tell the next generation of people that may be suffering with cerebral palsy or maybe suffering with some type of situation that maybe they feel that they can't handle? Like, what would you tell them, Paul?
So you want me to answer the question as somebody that that's suffering from cerebral palsy, or like the parents or the staff helping that person?
Um, in a way that the person is separated. Let's say if I was suffering from that, right? And I'm
Okay.
growing up and I'm 18 years old and I'm going through a hard time in high school, similar to you. What do you want to tell the next generation of people coming up?
Okay. Well, I would want to tell them, or anybody suffering from anything, any type of limitation of any sort, whether it be physical, mental, whatever it may be. Stop focusing on what you can't do and focusing on what you can do, because there's so much that you can do. And I challenge you to write it down on a piece of paper and keep writing. Just don't stop. Just let it flow. Write it down. Write all the stuff that you can do, and you'll be surprised how much you can do. And out of that list that you can do, there may be one or two things that may become a passion of yours. And I would suggest maybe going after that and seeing if it is a passion of yours. It's all about trial and error, but focus on the can, not the can't.
And that's the best way to probably put it. I think many of us will focus on the negative because the negative is so much more impactful, right? You have people that may not have gone through what you've gone through, but there's so many people that have been bullied, that have been teased. It seems, unfortunately, that it's the path of life for so many people, right? It's like the passage of time where once you're in school, so many people go through it, or even on the professional level at work, or in relationships, things of that nature. Looking back, Paul, on that, have you told the people who were there for you how important it was for them to be there for you?
Yeah, no question about it. There's probably a lot of people that I haven't, but the most important person that I have had this conversation with is my mom. Without my mom, I don't know where I'd be right now. Probably not where I'd probably not be doing a podcast with you without her right now. She was instrumental in my life and still lives. So she's always been a big cheerleader in my life, and never let me doubt myself, and never let me use excuses. Always, push me in the direction of where I wanted to go. And she knows that, and she's a big advocate of what I'm doing now. So I would say my mom, and she knows how much I appreciate her.
One of the things that I had growing up was my grandmother was such a big part of my life and such a big role in my life. And as I grew up and got older and older, one of my dreams was I just wanted, just because of the age difference is bigger than it was for your mother and yourself, right? Because this is two generations above you. I always looked at it, and one of my dreams was I always wanted my grandmother to see me succeed because she meant so much to me. Now that your mother has seen you become this confident, strong, successful man, if you were to put into words how she feels, if you were to take a guess, how would she feel seeing you now?
I think that she sees, somebody that's truly happy, and that's truly kind, and wants to make a difference, whether it's just one person or whether it's a million people wanting to make a difference. And that's all it's really about. It's not really about having to be, this grandiose Tony Robbins, you name that type of person. It's not really about that. It's about, the client in front of you, worrying about that client in front of you, and doing the best for that client. Because I think when you're client facing, a lot of good help comes from it. Because I work with a group of different coaches, and sometimes when I do an interview, I always do a free consultation, make sure that we're a right fit. And there's times where I'm like, you know what? Because of X, Y, and Z, you'd actually work better with this coach. And if you're client facing like that, it'd be best, because the client's going to have a better experience with working with that coach, because they're an expert in that field. And what goes around comes around. And that same coach will talk to somebody else and go, you know what? You'd work better with Paul. You need to talk with Paul. And if we all have that mindset of just, let's worry about the client that we're focusing on right now and do right by the client, so much good will come of it. Referral based, everything. So yeah, just helping out the client and being client facing is my mantra.